Da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-da-da-da-dum, da-da-da-da-da-dum. What does that even mean, Bowers Game Corner?
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review. Today I'm very excited to check out Flower Fairy from Hobbit Games. This is in the My Very First Games line. It's for ages 2 plus for 1 to 3 players. It'll take about 10 to 15 minutes to play. And in Flower Fairy, you are going to be building up flowers before a fairy gets to the garden, because if she gets to the garden and you don't have her flowers built, she's going to be super ticked off. The theme kind of falls through, but this is one of their My Very First Games lines, so it's designed for extremely young children. It's a fully cooperative game, but is it good? Let's open it up and I'll tell you. Alright then, we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of Flower Fairy. So first and foremost, we got our handy dandy rule booklet, which is like 24 pages, double-sided, full color, but in actuality, you're only going to need your language, which is, I don't know, maybe at 6 pages. Very short, very sweet, very concise. I will say there might be a couple of hiccups here and there from the translation, but overall, nothing you're not going to understand. Very simple game. I can teach you how to play it right now. So in Flower Fairy, what you're going to be doing is you are going to be building up flowers over here before the magical Princess Fairy gets there to pick up her order of flowers or something like that. If she gets there before all your flowers have been built, then you lose the game. If you build your flowers before she gets there, then you win the game. Very simple. So we'll go over the components, then we'll get a little bit into the gameplay. So component-wise, we have a double-sided board. This is the simple side of the board, which you will just be matching colors. And this is the more difficult side of the board, where you'll be matching shapes. And how you're going to do is you're going to start the Flower Fairy right over there. And these are going to be your flowers that you're going to be building up. So as you can see, they're nice, they're wooden, they're chunky, they're very, very thick. And these are going to be placed over here to create a flower. Next, you're going to have the top to your flower. You'll be able to put this on the top of the flower to complete the flower. And last, we have the die. The die has 4 different faces on it. Green, which means you will put one of the green pieces onto the board. You have purple, which means you put a purple piece on the board. Blue, which you probably know what that means. And then you're going to have a star, which means you can put whatever piece you want on there. Ooh, so shiny. Last but not least, there are 2 faces that will have the princess on it, the fairy. When you roll that, she's going to move 1 space closer to the flower garden where you are going to be building flowers. So, I'll show you exactly how the game works. On your turn, you're going to roll the dice, and you're going to do whatever's on the dice. This one, we take a green, and we put it out there. So with the older version of the game, you would have to match a green to the shape right there, because the shape does fit inside of it. On the younger version of the game, you would just put a green on the green spot. Next, you roll it again, you put the purple there, bada boom, let's say, oh, there we got that, she moves 1 closer. Very simple game. Now, once you get all 3 of your pieces on top of there, like, we'll do it right here so you can see it a little bit better, like that, you are going to go ahead and complete that flower, like so, and you'll have a nice 3-dimensional flower, and you're trying to get all 3 of those flowers built before the princess gets there. If you can do that, then hooray, you've won. If you can't, then she gets mad and destroys everything. And that, in a nutshell, is how Flower Fairy is played. Alright then, Flower Fairy from Hobbit Games. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First, on the con side, game's not going to be for everybody. If you play with kids that are ages, say, 6 plus, I think I'm going to steer you towards a different Hobbit game. If your kid just turned 5 and you're thinking about getting this game, I'd say, you know what, go get one of their other games, because they have a lot of fantastic games, and this is a game that I really enjoyed, but 2 to 5, I feel, is about the right age range for this game. After that, they might get a little bit bored. Another comment I have with this game is it's very simple. It's one of those games that you're going to win 95% of the time if you play it the way the rules state. And I don't like games like that. I like games, with kids, obviously they want to win, but as long as it's cooperative, which it is in this game, everybody wins and everybody loses, and that's a great lesson to teach children. And in this game, with how the rules are written, you're not going to lose too terribly often, and that is a con, personally, to me. But I'll mention a little bit more about that in the pros, because it's easily house ruleable. Another comment I might have with this is some parents are not going to like the theme. They might think it's too girly. And clearly, this game looks like it was designed for girls. There's a flower, and then there's fairies, and there's, it's a magical garden, and there's a, it's everything's pink. And some parents are going to be turned off by that. But I will say, with my personal experience, I played this with a lot of boys. I played this with a lot of girls between the ages of 2 and 5. And none of the boys cared. I brought it into my classroom, and they didn't really care that it was about a flower and about a fairy. Because, these are the kind of boys that love superheroes. They love wrestling. They love football. That sort of thing. They didn't care, because what I told them is, we're not playing as a fairy. We're playing as florists who need to get a job done before the fairy gets there. And the fairy has magical powers, and if she doesn't have her flowers ready, she's going to be super mad unless you don't want a fairy mad at you. And they were like, oh, okay, we're not playing as fairies? And they were completely cool with it, because you're really not playing as the fairies. Now, of course, the girls were like, yeah, I'm not playing as the fairy, moving the fairy. And afterwards they were done. They wanted to play with the fairy and make her ride horses. All sorts of generic stuff like that. But needless to say, I feel like some parents are going to be turned off by the imagery on the box. And that is something that I did want to mention. Any other cons that I have with this game? No. I mean, it's designed for children age 2+, and it succeeds at that very, very well. So let's talk about what I like with the game. First, and obviously, it's a hobby game, which means you're going to have absolutely fantastic, gorgeous, colorful pieces. The artwork's great. The components are great. Just get all that out of your mind. Component-wise, top-notch. The board, double-sided, great. But one thing I really love about this game is it's scalable. I said ages 2 to 5. Now, that is a huge age range when you think about it. Because, if you don't have kids, that doesn't seem like that big of a deal. You're like, all right, it's only a 3-year difference. But if you have kids or you work with kids, you know that is a 2-year-old versus a 5-year-old. That is that's not just a different ball field. Screw that Pulp Fiction reference off. It's a big age range. And luckily, this game is very scalable. You can do a lot of things to make the game more difficult. You start off on the easy side, then you move to the hard side. One particular modification that we made to make it a little bit more difficult, add a little bit more tension to the game, was to make it so that every time you roll the star, the princess moves. That means 50% of the time the princess is moving closer, and if you don't have those flowers ready, you're in a world of trouble. Also, another modification that we made, and I'm just throwing out some ideas for you, was we made it so that you had to actually roll the dice to get the tops of the flowers on there. Which is another thing, very aesthetically pleasing. I told you the components were nice. When everything is set up, it looks like a very cool game. Kids are going to be drawn to this game because it does look so interesting. Another pro that I have, it's fully cooperative, which is always great for a kid's game because you can teach them about winning and losing the right way. Hey, you didn't lose, we lost as a team, all right? Maybe we can try again, we'll get lucky this time, and we'll all win together. Everybody wins together, everybody loses together. They're both very valuable lessons in that aspect. Any other pros I have with the game? No, it's a fantastic game. If you have children age 2 to 5, 2 to 4, yeah, 2 to... It plays well with kids age 2 to 5, but I would say if you have a 5-year-old, I might look at a different Hobbit game, one that's for a little bit older. Same with 4, actually. But either way, fantastic game. If you have young children, very young children, highly recommend checking this one out. I believe this is the 3rd game in the My Very First Games line that I've checked out, and I think this might be the one that I enjoy the most. So definitely a great game to check out. That is Flower Fairy from Haba Games. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to click on the subscribe button down below in the comments below. Let me know, flowers, do you ever buy them for your significant other when you have one, or if you have one, when you do? For me personally, I have a wife, and I buy them for her sporadically from time to time when I feel like she's been down for like a week or two. I don't try and do it right when she's bummed out. I like to do it randomly. The last time I did it was about a month ago. I bought her flowers on my birthday, just because she was an amazing wife and she was the best present that I could ever ask for. Yeah, I know, that's a great line. Oh, but it's true, I love my wife. But I buy it from her sporadically, maybe once every 4, 5, 6 months. Flowers, do you buy them for your significant other? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.